Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Dr. Spotfire monthly session. I'm your host, Boris, from the Dr. Spotfire team. We have prepared for you today a very light and enjoyable session on data function. We will cover basic concepts of data functions, strengths, and how you can use them to elevate your analysis and how your organization can benefit from using them. We will then do a quick demo for those of you who are new to data functions, and then jump straight to the community exchange to have a look at some of the pre-built data functions from the Spotfire data science team. We will see how we can download and use them without needing to do any code. Before we start, for those of you who are new to Spotfire, I would like to define what Spotfire is. The platform has been evolving over the years, and we can say today that Spotfire is a visual data science and AI platform that helps smart people get smarter by creating rapid, interactive visual analytics applications to solve complex industry problems. Having said that, I'd like also to define what Dr. Spotfire is. And Dr. Spotfire is a program aimed at helping new and advanced Spotfire users. The program is hosted by Spotfire experts in data science and customer success. The Dr. Spotfire office hours are our monthly live sessions every first Tuesday of every month, streaming live in YouTube and LinkedIn. So how does Dr. Spotfire work and why you should care? The program consists of feature sessions like this one and quick tips. Those quick tips and monthly sessions are the core of Dr. Spotfire, but it's driven by our community through Ideas Portal, our community, and social media, resulting in the Spotfire product evolving into new visuals, data functions, apps such as Copilot, accelerators for real-time analytics and data connectors, as well as articles, white papers, and scripts to extend and enhance the Spotfire experience. Now that you know what Spotfire and Dr. Spotfire are, I would like to kick off our presentation with our motto. Learning is not driven by answers, but by questions. Questions spark curiosity, encourage exploration, and lead to deeper understanding of our subject. They challenge us to think critically and seek answers that drives the process of learning. So if you have any questions, please keep them coming. I'll do my best to answer. If you're watching this offline, please leave the questions in the comment section and we'll come back to you ASAP. A quick confidentiality disclaimer, and let's start. Let's start with the basics. What is a data function in Spotfire? Well, data functions are the Spotfire way of letting advanced analysts and professionals to enhance Spotfire by creating scripts that can perform pretty much any type of calculation and returning the result to a Spotfire analysis. In the broader sense, data function is an operation you perform on your data. In the simplest terms, data functions are, let's say, R and Python scripts that let you extend your Spotfire analytics experience. The functions themselves operate on Spotfire input data in the form of data tables, data columns, and property variables. If you'd like, the data functions may be dynamically recomputed using interactive chart selections, such as markings or filters, or triggering brand new calculations in Spotfire's memory and not requiring the user to manage the storage of resulting information. The resulting information, or the data results, are outputted in the same format as the input data, tables, columns, and property values. Due to their flexibility, data functions can be used for many different things. For example, opening data, transforming data, adding features to a visualization, for example, curves, by addition of a new data table based on the first one. In most cases, the use of a data function is a matter of mapping inputs to outputs. This is the script requires someone to say what to base the calculations on and where to place the result from the calculation in the context of your current analysis. Today we're going to see how we're going to do that. I mentioned that you can do scripting on Python and R. However, the list is quite extensive. You can do the same thing with using MATLAB, Statistica, KNIME, and many more. Data functions are scripts created using Python, R, Statistica, and other languages that apply calculations on the data tables. They're unique and differentiated integration of data science algorithms with data visualizations. Developers can create data functions that can easily be reused by others. And non-developers can use pre-built data functions, many available for download from the community, which we're going to see. So why Spotfire data functions are so powerful? Well, they bound to the underlying components of Spotfire visualization, such as line, bar, set of points, or layering a map. They're highly interactive and dynamic. They're reactive to visuals, including marking. They are reusable, parameterized by domain experts, and the input user interface for parameters is automatically generated, so no coding necessary. In contrast, for typical Python integrations, the linear flow limits interactivity. It's disjointed from the visual experience. It's difficult to use algorithms that require or produce multiple tables. And often, simple changes require recoding. Data functions do complex things with data without needing to code or statistic background. Once registered, the user can save them locally or save them in the library where they could be shared or reused with the rest of the organization. In a way, this is a way to collaborate and a place to expose analytical features in the organization. With data functions, you can perform any type of calculation and return the result into a visualization. You can tweak data functions as part of your visual analytics flow. For example, as you can see in this GIF, you can change dynamically the parameters of a data function from the visualization or from property controls button, which makes them quite dynamic. You can pin your favorite data functions and statistical tools in the Analytic Tools flyout or FX flyout, and this way you don't have to import them every time or code them every time. You can also have a visual overview of the data function flow from the data canvas. You can edit inputs and outputs as well as change the script. Right, so having said all that and having looked at the basics, let's see some real examples. So I have this public data source with information about London Airbnbs. As you can see, we have latitude, longitude columns, price column, number of reviews, and review scores ratings that are from 0 to 5. So we have many options to clean and prepare the data, but let's say we want to do a bit more specific. If you have a look here, I have a property type and room type columns, and they're categorical. Let's say I want to do some more advanced modeling or search for a correlation. This cannot happen with those categorical columns. What I need to do is to convert them into numerical values using one-hot encoder. For those of you who are not familiar with this technique, it's about converting the categorical column into a numerical with values 1 or 0, depending on the presence of particular category in that row. So let's do exactly that. I'll go to Tools and click on Register Data Functions. you see the register data functions dialog box appearing. And right on top, I can give my data function a name, let's say oneHot encoder. I can select the type I want to write my code in, for example, R, Python. I'm going to leave it at Python for now. And I can leave a quick description here, which I'm not going to do. It's going to be fairly straightforward and simple code. And right here, I'll write my script. I can also change the icon of my data function, but I'll keep it as default. So, as I mentioned, it's a fairly simple script that I have prepared for you. So I'm just importing pandas. This is where you can, by the way, import your libraries while coding in Python. And then I'm defining a function called oneHot, taking my data table and using the getDummies function to oneHot encode my columns or data table. And when I call my function, I have named it relatively intuitively output and input data and convert them as integers so they stay at 1 and 0. So all I have to do right now is to match my parameters of output data and input data. So if I mark output data and right click on it, I can click output parameter and select the type of it, which is table. And I can do the same with the input data, but this time select input parameter. Now, this is a bit more different. I can choose column or table. Now, for the sake of this demo, I'm going to leave it as a table. And I can allow only specific data types. Now, it makes sense to be Boolean or a string. So I'm going to leave them only as Boolean and string and click OK. Now, if I click run, this will run my data function, but not before I specify which columns or data tables I want to use. Now for my input parameters, I'm going to select my two columns, property type and property room type, sorry. And then for my output parameters, I will select a data table and I'm going to create a new data table from scratch instead of replacing the old one. If I click OK, and I'm going to close my data function, register data function dialog box. I'm not going to save it right now in the library. And if I go on my data canvas, I can see my newly created data function appearing here. I can follow the flow. As you can see, I have the input data here. Those are my two columns. My code here, and the output data, which appears right here. As you can see, many zeros and ones. In this particular context, we're not going to do anything with it. This is super useful if we are to, let's say, run some correlation matrix based on with the other variables, or run some regression. But sometimes things can become a bit more complex, or maybe we want to do a bit more of it. Now, if you're not very familiar with coding in Python or R, you can easily visit the community exchange, which I'm going to show you now, where you can find exactly the same data function developed by our Spotfire team. So this is our exchange in the community. You can see quite a few data functions. And if you scroll a bit more, I think it's in the second page, you see the oneHot encoder Python data function for Spotfire. All you have to do is download it, and you will get a zip file with a DXP demo, README file, and the SFD file, which is the Spotfire data function file, and then you can just drag and drop into your analysis. And I'm going to show you how to do that but not with one-hot encoding, because this is obviously is going to give us only ones and zeros. We're going to do something a bit more interesting with our data. So I'll go back to my data functions and on my analysis. And looking at the data that we have, I have longitude and latitude, which means that I can easily create a map chart showing all those Airbnbs across London and visualize, let's say, the review scores ratings. This will allow me to see which areas of London have better reviews than others. So if I import a map chart, you will see Spotfire straight away recognizes the longitude and latitude variables and plots it on the map. Now, obviously, we can do quite a few things here. We can change the colors by, let's say, property type or by average rating, but it's still going to be quite of a saturated map. So what we can do is we can go in the community exchange and have a look in one particular data function, which I very much like. So let's have a look at something. So this is the spatial heat map data function for Spotfire. Now you can read a little bit about it in the description, but basically it allows you to visualize overall patterns in numeric spatial data. So we can still use our latitude and longitude and use a third variable that is going to create our heat map. So let's see how it looks like if we download this data, this file. Sorry, as I mentioned, you have a zip file with DXP, README file, and SFD file, which is the data function. So I'm just going to drag and drop, and we'll see what we can do. So I have already unzipped that for you. So this is the what it has inside the zip file, and I'm going to take this file and just drag and drop in my analysis. So you can see this flyout appearing on the left side of the screen, and it's giving me actually all the information that I need, the X and Y values corresponding to the longitude and latitude. Now be very careful what you put here, what coordinates you're using. Spotfire is going to allow you, obviously, to convert those. For me, it's quite straightforward. I have the correct ones. So I'm just going to select longitude for X, latitude for, or it was the other way around. I think it was latitude and longitude, right? If not, we're gonna do it the other way around. And then for the Z variable, I'm going to select my review scores rating because I want to plot. I want to plot the heat map as review scores. You can do the same with prices, but really depends. You have an optional parameter here, smooth scale. I'm going to leave it empty for now. Those are the important ones, and you can click on refresh function automatically when you do a change or a marking. So I'm going to click OK. And you can also choose how the new data will appear. For example, it can come as a new data table. We can add them as rows to the previous one or columns and so on. Now I'm going to leave them as new data tables. So we have 3 new data tables from this data function, which are, which you're going to see just in a minute. I'm going to click OK. And you can see Spotfire generating the output. All right. So if I go back to my data canvas and click on data functions and select my newly imported data function, I can see my input variables x, y, and z. So if you click on x, I've selected as latitude, y as longitude, and z is review scores rating. And then the three output data tables, which are heat map, contours, and major contours. And we're going to use them in our map chart visualization to make it way more prettier. So let's have a look. So I'm going to select visualization properties and go to layers, and I'm going to add a feature layer. Now, my analysis layer is selected as market layer, same as the map layer. So I'm going to select feature layer as major contours. Oh, seems that I have confused the longitude and latitude ones. That's all right. The risks of the live streaming. I'm going to change it straight away. So if you go back to your data function and select edit here, this gear icon, we can change the latitude to longitude and the longitude to latitude and just run it again. That was a good exercise to show you how easily you can change your script or data function if you have made a mistake. So let it think for a bit, and it should bring me back to London. In the meantime, let me see if there are any questions. Right. Oh, good. As I mentioned, if you have any questions and you're watching this offline, make sure that you leave your question in the comment section, and we're going to come back to you. So if you convert the longitude, so if you confuse the longitude and latitude, in this particular sense, it was just going, the contour maps and everything was going in the southern hemisphere. So you can only just change it in the input settings. All right, my laptop is slowing a bit down, but it should be any minute now. If you see, for example, the data function script, this is where it's been written. You can use it to learn a little bit more about data functions as well. You can see the input parameters here as well, the same way as I did it in the first demo with my very simple function. Same with the output parameters. Those are set for you. You don't have to touch it, but if you're really curious about it, you can definitely change it or play around with it. All right, so here it is. My data function has loaded, and if you notice on my map, I have the contours appearing already. Right, so let's go back to the visualization properties. and layers. I'm going to put my major contours on the top, and I'm going to add the rest of them. I'm going to add the contours. And I'm going to add my heat map. As you can see, things are happening in the background with my map. Now I can change the colors to be by level and leave it as average. And the color mode is set to gradient. Now it's totally up to you how you want to use this. Let's say we can add 2-3 more points here. We can reduce a bit the transparency of the heat map. And I'm going to make it a bit more easier to read. Now, if you see, we have imported our heat map over London. Now you can spend a lot of time here changing it, making it a bit more visible. For example, you can change the dots that I plotted in the background. You can make it a bit more hidden, let's say. So I'm just going to go to layers. Let's leave the interactive feature to be major contours. And I'm going to go to the settings of my original data. And for example, you can change the marker size. You can make it smaller like that. Change the shape and so on and so forth. Totally up to you. I'm not going to spend time on that right now. You can also add in your contours labels, and this is going to give us the average ratings for the Airbnbs in London. So for example, this central part here has an average of 4.6, and then if we go more towards South London, we have 4.74, 4.76, and so on. And you can add as many gradient colors as you like to make it look pretty, of course. Totally up to you. I see we have some couple of questions that I'm going to have a look. Right, there's some question. People are trying to export data. Federal Reserve data, when I run it as a function, it returns date as some kind of binary value. We can have a look at that as well later on, and you can have a look as well in the community for similar problems that you face as well. So the community is our one of our biggest assets, because we are trying to encourage people to contribute and people with similar problems as well. But I'm going to have a look at that, Steve, and I'm going to send you an answer as well. Yeah, that's pretty much with this data function. Again, as I mentioned, you can make it as pretty as you want, and you can explore the code and so on. And honestly, you didn't really need to know how to code in order to generate this output. I showed you the two ways. One is if you want to write it yourself, if you want something more specific, and two, if you want to, if you're just a user, you want to use something and have a clear output, this is the way. All right, I'm cautious of time. I'm just going to wrap it up. So feel free, and I encourage you actually to subscribe to our YouTube channel to get notifications for our events and our quick tips. Stay tuned for our quick tip videos. A couple of videos are coming in the next weeks. If you want to get in touch with us or share your work, please email us at doctor@spotfire.com. And that's it for today. Thank you very much for joining. And I will see you in the next Dr. Spotfire session next month. Have a great day.